Being an international student looking at studying in the UK, do you have any advice regarding getting sponsorship after I graduate?
Again, it can be tricky. Sponsorship is quite what's the word? It's quite competitive, and it's an extra wrinkle being an international student with eligibility criteria. The simple thing I would suggest is talk to the university you're looking, or the universities you're looking to study at, and try to get as much information you can about as you can about the opportunities that might be available to you. And the other option is see if you can find an employer who'll take you on, because often employers will fund good quality employees, which you are likely to be as an international employee, and with the extra experience and insight and that brings.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you. How did you finally decide what course you want to do? I do biomedicine, and there are so many courses you can do following biomed that it's very overwhelming.
I'm probably the wrong person to ask, and I didn't give my career history, but I, like Darcy, although in a slightly different way, I got a scholarship. So it wasn't really a choice. It was more along the lines of, here is a grant that is available to do this particular course. Do you want to do it? I thought, well, the jobs market is pretty grim when I graduated. Yeah, sure, I will do it. So it's not quite the same. Um, the jobs market is big and it's complicated, and you are, especially when you're first starting out, you need to be comfortable with the idea that there's no perfect decision to be made. So a slight leap of faith is not unwarranted and actually quite normal.
Yeah.
The very worst thing that could happen as a consequence of you taking a master's qualification, particularly early in your career, is it may help for you to be really clear on a career path that you don't want to take. And again, drawing from my own experiences, I have a PhD. I wanted to become an academic, and the one thing that cured me of wanting to become an academic was becoming an academic. And that is not actually at all a bad thing, particularly early in your career. I was 27 when it became very clear to me that I didn't really want to be an academic before at all. Seemed like a long time after graduation, but really it was the very early starts of my career. Plenty of time to change course.
Definitely. Can I go into business analytics from food science as I want to pivot into the corporate side?
Yeah, the quantitative skills that you've got from a food science course, and again, you'll need to talk to the course leader and explain why you want to do this. But there's an appetite for good quality quantitative analysts. If you've come from a course with decent quantitative content, and actually some qual will be helpful as well for the market research and qualitative side of things. Then nobody will particularly mind, and actually to some extent, if you can sell it effectively, a slightly unconventional career background can be a selling point rather than a burden.
Hmm. Apart from avoiding the use of AI, is there anything applicants can do to improve the slowdown in the recruitment process?
Well, actually, as I said very quickly at the end of the main presentation, you don't have to avoid AI at all. And in fact, actually, employers are assuming that you will be using it. What you shouldn't do is just use AI to do everything for you. A good quality application, and some of the best quality applications that employers see, are from candidates who've used AI wisely and effectively, to smooth out the process and professionalize it whilst retaining a crucial essence of themselves in the application. Again, without being too anecdotal, but we recruited a new analytical colleague last year, in one of the teams that I work with, and we were inundated because we did it last summer, and we were inundated with candidates, and most of them had used AI in a very generic way. And we interviewed a candidate who was fresh out of university, who had put in a really good sparky application. She was really bright. Her personality shone through from it. We interviewed her. She was great. She got the job. She's been brilliant. And when we'd finished the process, we said, well, one of the reasons we recruited you is you hadn't used AI during the process. To which her reply was, oh, yes, I had. That was which was brilliant because we couldn't see where she'd used it
Yeah.
because the application was full of Adna. You
Hmm.
could see she was it gave us it was full of her excellent sparky lively personality. But she'd used AI to polish it, and that's
Yeah.
perfectly fine. And that's actually probably, especially if you're not confident in your ability to put together a really good application, because actually that's why most people are using it. They're worried. They want to put the best quality application they can, and AI does do a good job of smoothing off the edges and
Hmm.
making it polished.
Yeah.
But if that's all you do with it, everybody's doing that.
Yeah.
You stand out by starting out with the basis that's you and 100% you, and then honing it up with AI
Mhm.
rather than vice versa.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you. When is the best time to be doing a placement with a January start master's degree?
That's a really good question, actually. It will depend on you. It is challenging to work and do a good quality master's at the same time. However, if particularly if the placement is related to the masters, it can also be an enormous boost to your learning. So there is no right and wrong answer to that particular question. It might be easier for you to do the placement before your course starts. But you might find that the insights you're getting from the placement are hugely beneficial to the course as you're doing it. Just
Mhm.
might curtail your nightlife a little bit.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you. Entry-level jobs are now asking for 1 to 3 years of qualifying experience. What would you recommend for a master's student trying to delve into the market?
If you're seeing an entry level job asking for 1 to 3 years of qualifying experience, that recruiter is not recruiting in a very effective way, and they're going to find things very difficult for themselves. So I appreciate that in some industries it might appear that way, um, but in reality, that's not really what's going on. What they're trying to do is they're trying to narrow their applicant pool down because they're getting inundated with all of these AI applications. So
Mhm.
fundamentally, what you want to do is explain to the recruiter how the experience that you have had since you've left school qualifies for their experience, and that can be through your degree, that can be through other experiences that you've got through your university or college experience and through other learning that you've got, and that can be through your masters. So don't view it through those lenses. And if you're persistently coming up against employers who are offering entry level salary for second job experience, then you probably want to ask questions. You'll probably want to be asking, why is this happening and what's going on here? Because employers that are doing that are shortchanging their own applicants. And they simply won't get the applicants that they want, and they
Mhm.
won't retain the applicants that they want, and that's their problem. Don't
Mhm.
make it yours.
Yeah, that's good. What postgraduate subjects do you think will offer the best prospects in terms of a decent salary and career advancements? Oh, we did that one. It's surveying, right?
Again, it will depend on you, and also in terms of the other thing to bear in mind is that particularly in postgraduate graduates actually, initial salary and long-term career advancement are not always the same thing. Some careers are quite front-loaded.
Hmm.
Some careers, so for example in tech, so in engineering for example, is legendarily and notoriously backloaded. In other words, um, you might start on a decent starting salary. um, it'll take you years to get to the top, but it'll take you years. And then when you get to the top, you are earning a lot of money.
Hmm.
So whereas other qualifications, teaching being a very prime example, is you'll often reach the top of the salary scale quite early in your career. Which is one
Hmm.
reason why a lot of teachers leave early, actually.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
so so those two things can be quite different. The finance industry, for example, is quite well known for front loading its salaries. Yes,
Right.
you do get the major earners earning a very large amount of money, but they're a very small group.
Hmm. Yeah.
So do bear that in mind, that the initial starting salaries are not always a guide to what you might earn ultimately if you proceed in your. And also, actually, in the UK in particular, to progress past a certain point, you'll probably need to go into management.
Mm-hmm.
And so management qualifications can offer a good return because of that.
Yeah, that's a good point. Any tips for students transitioning from postgrad entering into the labour market, especially in terms of competitiveness?
Right. So the first thing and the major thing to bear in mind is, again, don't expect employers to go, oh, you've got a postgrad, we'll give you more money.
Mm-hmm.
Because they won't. They won't do it just because of that. So don't expect your investment in your career and the money that you've paid for your postgrad. Don't expect employers to go, oh yeah, you deserve more money because you've got a postgraduate qualification. The research shows what research there is. Unfortunately, there is not as much of it as we'd like, but so research tends to show, and I alluded to that in the previous answer, is that postgraduates do tend to advance further in their careers later on, but sometimes you might not realise those returns until a little bit later.
Mm-hmm.
Be realistic, accept that a lot of the people that you're going to be going up against will have undergraduate qualifications and maybe even work experience. And you will need to explain to employers why your particular brand of experience is valuable, but also don't have an inferiority complex about it. This is useful, valuable experience. Your subject insight, except in very specialized cases, is probably not going to be massively interesting to the employer. That's crucial. Your subject level, it was almost certainly useful and valuable to you and interesting to you, and the hook that got you in to get the qualification. But the employer is probably going to be interested in other things that you got from the degree. So don't go big on all the interesting things you learned through your thesis unless you really are going for a job on the 19th century romantic poets.
I
do
love that.
talk about the do talk about the experience, the extra experience you've got, because employers often say even an extra year's maturity can make a significant difference.
Mm-hmm.
Employers do speak warmly of postgraduate qualities in those regards, but a lot of postgrads have learned the hard way that, and to pick an example, a personal example, most employers don't care that you can build your own environmental flow cell unless you're going for an employer that wants you to build your own environmental flow cell. That's not relevant.
Mm-hmm.
No matter how proud you are that you can use a CNC machine. It's the other stuff that you've got that's really important.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's great. Thank you. Final one. As an introverted person, networking seems daunting. What tips do you have to deal with that?
I know it doesn't come across because a lot of what I do is displacement, and what's the word, compensation activity and coping exercises. But hello, fellow introverts. Um, Here's the secret: everybody hates networking, with the tiny exception of a few really weird extroverts who are really obvious because they're just a lot. Everybody hates networking. And so you're not alone. It is a necessary, useful, and important and useful part of job experiences. Making small talk is excruciating and horrid. Having to be in rooms full of people is horrid and awful unless there are a lot of free drinks available to overcome all of that. I feel your pain, but nobody likes it and nobody is good at it. And
Mhm.
actually, a great opening gambit is in networking events is this networking is awful, isn't it? You hate it too, don't you? To which your response will almost certainly be a hearty yes, this is awful. At which point you've bonded. And if it's not awful, then you've found one of those extrovert people. And all you have to do to them is just listen to them talk about themselves for a bit.
It's so true. Oh, I
Apologies
feel
to any
very called out.
extroverts. You love it, really.
Yes, I'm one of those obnoxious extroverts. So
Yeah, but the thing, everybody loves you, Emily. It's true. And you're easy to talk to. So as an introvert, actually, that's the secret. Um, and don't drink too many of the free drinks at networking events because that can get messy. But in general, yeah, I mean, networking is an artificial thing that everybody hates. Tremendously useful. So
super
throughout
useful.
my career, our networking has been enormously valuable to me. So if you just think of it as a necessary evil, like having to get out of bed in the morning,
Yeah.
then and approach it in that respect, and mentally, the way that I cope with it is I mentally make a note of the catering and add it to my list of good caterers so that I know where to go to a full on decent free lunches.
It's a good
And
tip.
that's just what you do.
Perfect. That's brilliant. Thank you so much.